How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I am your host, Sander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. Uh, Double checking the mic and the sound because we got a lot of stuff going on. Uh, I really appreciate you guys coming to the show today. We kind of started up just a little bit sooner than we normally start up. I want to start by saying thank you to guys on TikTok. We are slowly, gradually getting up to that 100K. Uh, not quite there. We need at least 10K. We're going to fix that. We're going to get to that 10K. Really and truly, that kind of wondering if TikTok's going to be around in January for us to hit that 10K. But if they are still here, if things change and what happens, what have you, then we'll start seeing a large span of blowing up in the TikTok half of things. And for those of you that are watching us on TikTok, I want you guys to note that if you decide that you want to get up onto the podcast, you can dive in. Push this button right here. You guys can dive in. You can request the invite. Typically on the podcast, when we're talking about stuff, we have a lot of conversations that we have some debates from some fans. We have some just random inquiries where we're all kind of on the same page and interchanging information from one another. But if you've got some information that you want to share, you want to throw it up here on the podcast in real time instead of trying to play catch up in the comment section, because there is a little bit of latency in comparison to real-time communication. And I do tend to talk fast. So if any event that you guys want to communicate in real time, you have the ability to do that from TikTok side. If you guys are on Twitch and or YouTube, you guys have the equal opportunity to be able to dive in just by clicking the link, approving approving the mic, approving the camera, and then diving in. So I strongly encourage you guys to do that. It's supposed to be, for some reason, it is. Yeah, it showed here 2 minutes ago. So I'm trying to remember what's going on there. Refresh the page. All right. So today we're supposed to be talking about those family ties. We're supposed to be talking about bonds between family members and how that benefits each other. Oh, they're delivering mine. I'm double checking. They're delivering my stuff here. Okay, so we're here. We're in there. I was trying to figure out what happened there. Yeah, so we're in there like swimwear. So sidetracked. I looked at a text message like, what is that? But we're supposed to be talking about the family ties and how to bring one another together. And I think that the best ways to strengthen family ties, from my personal observation, is to first and foremost recognize those family roles. It is in a way, and the reason why. Oh boy, here we go. When you have complex families and those family roles start changing out, like for example, when the kids are living with a different relative, stuff to that effect, we tend to have the issue of identification and formulating bonds between certain family members. So it's really good to pay attention to the roles of the family and structuralizing those roles of the family. So when you first recognize those gender roles, you must first understand. Well, you have in your family tree, you have the siblings of whatever generation. You have the parents of those siblings, however many parents there may be, because in modern times you have one mom and as many as 10 baby daddies with 10 children. Sometimes 4 or 5 baby daddies amongst 8 children. But for the most part, you have women that have multiple different baby fathers with a child. And in those scenarios, you still have the ideology that, while mom is mom, is dad. And we've been seeing a lot of times on social media where if the mother of the child has at least one man involved that is willing to go the extra mile for his child, the woman will claim that he needs to cater to the other children in the house so that all the children feel equal. But the man is not responsible for taking care of a bunch of other children. It's not his. He's responsible for his individual child. So if the woman has like 8 or 9 different kids and he wants to get his one child a Apple Watch or something, then only one child's getting an Apple Watch. The other 7 kids need to go talk to their fathers about their ability to get an Apple Watch. If he's buying food for his daughter, then if there's just enough food there for one kid, his one kid is getting food. So if the other kids want McDonald's, then they need to talk to their dads about getting McDonald's. If their dads aren't involved, that's not the issue. If this man is not dating the mother of all of the children, if he's only a father of one of the children, where he's not in a relationship with the mother of the children, where he's obligated to take the package deal, then the man is not obligated to conform to providing resources to a bunch of children that are not his responsibility, just so that he can provide his a fair share of responsibility and perform his obligations to his own individual child. If you've got one child in a house of 12, you're not supposed to take care of 12. You're supposed to take care of the one. If you have, 2 or 3 kids in a house of 12, you take care of the 3. If you're dating a chick that has 2 or 3 kids, you got to take care of the chick and the 3 kids. But if you're not dating that chick, if you're only taking care of the one child, then that's your own responsibility. We also have a lot of times family ties are weakened when you have in-laws, the disgruntledness between in-laws. Relationships are typically hardened in a negative fashion, where in-laws could potentially impact the success of the marriage. Well, you're supposed to, you don't have to, you're supposed to respect your in-laws the way your in-laws are supposed to respect you. You are supposed to request, if not demand, respect from your in-laws the way you expect to be respected by your in-laws. But there's a little bit of a hierarchy there because, mom and dad of the child is going to have a little bit more respect from the child than the respect of the partner. Notice there's no separation of gender with that particular expectation. That's kind of across the board, because sometimes the child's mother, the boy's mother or father, might not be approving of the girl, and sometimes the boy's mother or father the girl's mother or father might not be approving of the boy. So it doesn't necessarily matter which one. How do you to strengthen those ties? Well, we had a fan on the show last week where she was complaining about her boyfriend wanting to be included in her engagements with her dad. She also talked about how he wanted to be included with her engagements with her female best friend who wanted to sleep with her. Now, I said on the show that week that, he has every right to make sure that, you are protected in the situation with your female best friend that's going to make a pass at you. Or you could tell your female best friend with respect that you guys can kind of sort of hang out in a group setting, but not so much so. But when it comes down to the family, there is no reason why, if you're dating a person that you actually care for and you see a long-term future for, that you shouldn't bring that person to your family so that you can spend time with that person and your family. You shouldn't have the division of ties where you're in a scenario where you're dating your boyfriend or you're dating your girlfriend and you have to leave your boyfriend or your girlfriend to go and spend a little bit of time with your family and then come back. I understand that in traditional times that you get to know the person, and then when you are sure about the person, and these days you can't ever be really sure because it doesn't last more than 2 years and 9 months. So if you're really sure about the person, it would be a 3+ year long relationship. But the fact is that the complaint from one of the fans actually was in a 2 to 3 year relationship. So I'm like, wait, you've already crossed the average. So why are you not comfortable with bringing them with you to go hang out with your dad? Building the family ties, but you being a connection of that person's family allows you to close the gap of the family. But you are still only connected to that family based on this individual person. So it is not likely to. It's not a effective way to say that. Well, you can have like a brotherly bond with your girlfriend's father. Then when you guys break up, you and the father are still best friends, kind of situation. typically when you break up with the girl, you break up with the girl's whole family. So delaying establishing relationships with other people in the family is probably a good thing for self-preservation, but attempting to formulate positive bonds through the girlfriend is a effective way to go about doing things. So if they need somebody to do some heavy lifting and they call the boyfriend or the husband, and the boyfriend or husband goes over and he's doing the heavy lifting, so he shows up and he does the heavy lifting. So he can show up without the girlfriend or the wife to be able to do the necessary heavy lifting. And the heavy lifting could be helping out around the yard, setting up for an event, whatever. Likewise, if there was something that needed to be done on the boyfriend side of the family, and the girl was asked to come over and give out a hand, preparations, setting up for an event. I talk about these things because we got Thanksgiving coming up. So if the girls are going to get together and start preparing the Thanksgiving dinners, or if the guys, because a lot of the times guys cook better than girls these days, if the guys are going to get together and prepare the Thanksgiving dinner, if the family is going to get together and set it up and do things together, then you would likely expect your partner for that particular engagement in order for you to be able to participate in that engagement with the family. But you also have to remember that getting closer to your partner's family than you are to your partner is equally inappropriate. And what do I mean by that? Notice how we've talked about on the show quite a few times in the past where people are cheating on their partner with their partner's family member. You are not supposed to be formulating that close of a bond with a family member where you're now having relations with that person. And I understand that some people say, well, we're all human. Look, loyalty in your relationship, just like loyalty in your family, dictates that you are capable of drawing a line somewhere and standing on that. And if you are in a situation where you don't believe that you will be able to withhold resistance towards temptation, or that you believe that the other person would overpower your ability to withhold the temptation, you're supposed to be able to say, hey, I can't be in that situation. And a perfect example of that, there's this statement going around right now where girls are testing the guy, and it's a stupid question. It's worse than the forced in the bear question. And girls ask guys, well, if I was in a room full of women, would you be able to identify me out of that room full of women? And in order for men thinking logically, in order for me to even know if you're even in a room, you'd either have to tell me or I'd have to be in the room. So first question is, well, what am I doing in a room full of women? And then the women get offended. Well, what are you doing in a room full of women? And it's ridiculous. Because this is your hypothetical. But when the men are looking at this particular type of scenario, they're coming from the perspective of, well, if I was in a room full of women and my girlfriend or my wife was in that room, then I should be able to identify her. You have those scenarios. Well, what happens if I was in a room full of women and for some reason everybody was naked? Again, why am I in this room? Why are you giving me a scenario where I'm compromised? But I should be able to identify my partner. If I know my partner well enough, I should be able to identify my partner in this room. That's the logical thinking. But from the other half of that logical thinking is, why are you going into a room full of other women and then assuming that I'm going to be able to identify you? Now, put me in a natural disaster and say that 2,000 people got knocked off, and out of those 2,000 people, I can walk up in the room and I can be able to identify which body belongs to my girlfriend or my wife. Then, most family members are capable of being able to identify their siblings and their other family members because they're able. And you got to think, when the coroner shows, they're going to show the face if there is a face there. If there isn't a face there, or if there isn't a head there, then they're going to show you the rest of the remains, and that individual would be able to identify the body based on certain marks and scars and tattoos and characteristics that aid you in your ability to identify the person. So if you have a child that you don't approve of it, but they get a tattoo, they have a tattoo of a flower or a rose or a star or a triangle or something to that effect on a part of their body, you know that tattoo is there. You can find the child's body with no hands, no feet, no head. if the body still has on what's left of the body a specific in a specific location, and the child might have another scar from an operation or something like that on another part of her body, where those two factors coming together dictates that should be my kid. You're able to identify that person. But when a woman asks this hypothetical question, it's a loaded question that leads to catastrophic failure. And fellas, we end up in situations a lot of the times where this catastrophic failure is something that we have to navigate through. And I got to tell you, it's hard. It's hard to navigate through the catastrophic failure because you don't choose to be in this compromising position. But now that you've been thrown into this compromising position, you have to figure out how to get out of it while recognizing that you are in the wrong for being forced into it. And I got to tell you, as a man, I don't like that situation. But husbands have to deal with this all the time. We're wrong just because somebody else doesn't like what happened. Now, how do we strengthen our relationships and our bonds around this? Well, first and foremost, don't overstep. So offering your services in situations, in group functions, offer to help dad with stuff that dad needs help with. If it's a single mother family, offer to help the mom in a group setting with things that mom needs help with for the sake of being nice. So if she's trying to lift something that's higher than her and you're taller than her, you offer to put it up there. But going over to the house and spending excessive quantities of time at the house without the girlfriend when the girlfriend's mom is home alone, that's not something that you want to do. And likewise, having the girlfriend come over and spend excessive time over at the house with the dad, that's not what you want to do. You don't want to leave your partner with your family members for unexplained quantities of time. They could spend a couple hours together here and there, but you're not looking at leaving your partner with a family member. And you are able to strengthen bonds with your family members with the loyalty and everything that you guys should have been practicing over the years. If you have a rocky, unstable relationship with your family member, you probably, when you're bringing your partner over there, should have you and your partner approaching your family member across the table from your family member, not you as an intermediary between your partner and your family member, because your spouse doesn't know how to behave in this. They don't want to overstep their boundaries. They don't know what they should and should not do. And you should not put them in a position where they're going to do something that you're going to get mad at, that they're going to regret when they call themselves trying to, be nice or be appropriate or be respectful. And there are a lot of ways that getting into these relationships, it could be less than favorable for a lot of us. And by the way, how you doing, Red Void? It's good to see you again. And one of the things that we have, because we're coming up on Halloween, we have events. When you start thinking about Halloween and other such holidays, do you want to have an event at your house where it's just you and your spouse? Or do you want to go to your family? If you're going to your family, are you going to just one family or both families? Respectfully, if both people have a family that they have a family that we don't want to have anything to do with. Some of us have families that we want to spend time with. So if you both have a family that you want to spend time with, the appropriate way for you to formulate or strengthen the bond between you and your girlfriend or you and your husband, especially if you guys are newly married, is for you guys to plan in advance which family members you're going to go visit. And if you can visit multiple family members from both sides of the relationship, then you're able to coordinate that. So let's say that one family is having dinner at 6 p.m. and the other family is having dinner at 8 p.m. And you guys, and they're on two different sides of the same state, but you guys can get there within an hour. Well, you can go early to the one family. You can sit there until dinner, and then an hour after dinner, you do that hour-long commute. You get there right before dinner of the other family, then you stay a little extra after the dinner. That way you're able to spend time with both families. If you have to spend time with the families every other holiday, then you might spend Thanksgiving with one family, Christmas with another, New Year's with another, and then alternate for the following year where you're spending Thanksgiving with a different family member. A Halloween with a different family member than last year, Thanksgiving with a different family member than last year, Christmas with a different family member than last year. And you have to remember the traditions of those individual families. So if you guys all come together, almost, because usually holidays are supposed to be when the family reunions start. And usually when it comes down to the holidays, everybody all meets up at typically the person with the largest space to accommodate the group. And that typically happens on either Christmas or New Year's or Thanksgiving, not usually Halloween. So for Halloween, you guys could probably just go off in pairs and go to a Halloween party, enjoy yourselves. And then for Thanksgiving, you guys can map out which family member you're going to for Thanksgiving. Now, I told you guys before, what was it, 3 weeks ago, we were supposed to be talking about rationalizations of being grateful with your Thanksgiving dinners. When you guys start hosting your own Thanksgiving dinner and inviting your in-laws over to your house, where you're inviting everyone on both sides of the family, you have to recognize who doesn't get along with who, and try to work out the seating where the people who don't get along with one another aren't sitting directly across from one another. And I know that can be a little bit more challenging and a little bit more taxing, but trying to keep the peace between disgruntled family members, and then recognizing that as those disgruntled family members, you should kind of bury the hatchet, not in the backs of the other people in the family, but you should kind of bury the hatchet or do a ceasefire of disgruntled behavior during this family gathering. And then if in the event that conversations start to segue into something a little bit inappropriate, that you guys know how to like kind of clear your throat and kind of redirect the conversation towards something else. But again, when you start thinking about bringing together the family and increasing those bonds, you have to try to be present and available for those family members. And that goes so far as the same as the advice we were giving with long distance relationships. Being able to communicate with your family members, do random acts of kindness for your family members, especially outside of holidays that are dedicated towards those people. So only recognizing mom on Mother's Day and her birthday probably is less significant than, randomly letting her know, even if it's like a 40-cent Hallmark card or a postcard or something like that, and let her know that you're thinking about her, or taking a photo and screenshotting and letting her know that you're thinking about her, is more than enough in comparison to, only a dozen roses and a dinner with the family kind of thing on Mother's Day, and then, a bracelet or something like that, and another dinner with the family on birthday, and then the other 364 days out of the year, you're ignoring her. 363 when it's not a leap year, you're ignoring her. That's not how family is supposed to be able to strengthen bonds and formulate stronger relationships. Family would be able to strengthen bonds and formulate better relationships with things like game night. So being able to come together and really developing a tradition, because in America, we don't really have very many family traditions. We don't really have very many family activities where we get along with one another. Well, we come together first of all, and then we get along after we come together. And that's going to be a tough thing for us to understand, is that, we have to start building traditions to come together first. And then after we come together, we got to, kind of fake it till you make it in some situations, or just really be there in a positive fashion to the best of your ability so that the event is successful. Now, it's rough, but game nights, having the family come over, having different family members come over. So if you're going to have a game night on and to invite different family members over to that game night. You might have different family members come over to the house on different weeks, but you're still able to spend time with those family members. That's a good way to be able to further emphasize the relationship between you and your family. Being able to, I say having available space in your house for sleepovers, but I also say that, if you got to go to work, it's not appropriate for your sister and your female cousins and your mom and your aunt and all these women to be spending the night by your house with your husband. That's not appropriate. Now, some people should say, yeah, it should be, but truth, this is where affairs in the family comes from. Getting too close with the opposite sex in the family. It's not. In heterosexual affairs, getting too close to the same sex in homosexual affairs is equally inappropriate, but just for the sake of discussion, that, being there and not having that divide of mutual respect there, that's inappropriate. Some men are going to say, hey, like, I don't feel comfortable with them being here, or I'll let them stay in the house and I'll go find something to do until you come home. And then when you come home, I'll come home, but they'll be here. Now, good boyfriends and husbands, they'll do that. I'm not going to say that women don't do that, but I am going to say that, ladies, you got to have the same expectations. The accountability of oneself to be able to know when to draw the line and say, okay, I'm going to have your brother over, I'm going to have your cousins over, your uncle, your grandfather, your father. They're going to be over here at the house. I'm going to be the only girl here. I'm going to, go out into they're free to stay here while you're at work, but I'm going to go and the rest of us can hang out and have a good time. Yeah, I'll be here with them for a couple of hours, but that's a couple of hours. And then after that, I'm going to kind of, see myself out. I'll be right back. And then when I come back, I'm going to come back with you, and then we'll all be here, because you're not trying to tell them, well, you're not free to stay here. But basically setting up borders and guidelines kind of really helps with benefiting and improving family structure. So when it comes down to the family ties, when you start developing and redeveloping family traditions, because I know that in my family we had wrestling night, so when WWE was WWF, back when WCW still existed, back when we had ECW, when the real wrestling was going on, steel chairs and flaming tacks on tables and stuff like that, no matter where we were in the world, we had to come home for the family day. And that meant that we made a schedule around family day, where there was a certain blackout day where, nope, I can't go. And whoever we were with at that time, it's like, hey, I got to go back to the house and spend family day with the family. Do you want to come? And we would call the family and say, hey, so-and-so's coming with us to accompany, me to go and participate in family day. And you would have like a whole WrestleMania event set up there, the same way football season, where you would have like Super Bowl Sunday kind of thing, where everybody comes over and we have that traditional event where everybody's enjoying their time with one another. We're having jokes, and even if they're not into that particular activity, they're still there, hanging out and having a good time. You could actually make a better relationship with your romantic partner if you are able to find appropriate structure between you and the relationship that you're in with their family. Because nobody likes dating a person that hates their family. And nobody likes it when their family hates the person that they're dating. But we aren't really too happy with having family that gets too close with our partner, and then affairs start where our family members are sleeping with our partners. So having a partner that is capable of being able to draw the line with a family member and be able to facilitate appropriate behavior strengthens the relationship that you have with your partner. Now, one of the things I think would also be included in that is, instead, if you have a situation where, say one of the family members is making a pass at you, you might recognize it. You don't really want to say anything to your partner, but you don't feel comfortable in that scenario. I'm not going to say make a lot of excuses, but I am going to say that when you have to engage that particular family member, you are supposed to be able to know how to appropriately say, okay, well, I'm going to come with you instead of staying here with the person that's trying to sleep with me, kind of deal. And you got to find a respectful way to wrap that up. But the best way to go about making it clear that you don't want to be in the same room by yourself with a certain person is, you got to pull your partner aside and say, look, I'm not trying to say nothing bad about your family member, but I don't feel too comfortable being alone in a room with your family member. I would prefer to come with you, or me and you are engaging this person, so that there are no unexpected mishaps. Yeah, you got the family member that pretends like it's one thing when they're with you by themselves, and then they pretend like it's something else when they're not with you. Then you got to let your partner know what's going on. And if your partner doesn't believe you, then hey, it is what it is. Now, when your partner catches you in a compromising position, you're like, well, I kept telling you that I was you didn't want to listen to me. You're with the compromising situation that you're in is that you're leaving, you're going to wait in the car, and they're like, well, what's going on? I told you that that was a problem. And before I get caught up into something I didn't want to get caught up in, I left. See, so you should not have affairs with family members, and it's hard to have a conversation about these things on the show because there's two different dynamics. You have everybody behaves appropriately, and how do you navigate your way into a family where everybody's behaving appropriately? And then we have certain families where people don't behave appropriately, like mothers pushing up on the daughter's son or fathers pushing up on the son's girlfriend, and you gotta know how to navigate both. So it's hard for me to say, well, hypothetically, in one scenario, you can say, oh, well, go in there, be your best self, hang out with everybody. It doesn't matter if your partner leaves you in a room alone with somebody else. You guys just have a good time. Keep it strictly platonic. You also have to understand that there are also some situations where you have to remember, in order for you to make sure that it's strictly platonic, under the red flag scenarios where you're observing people's behavior not becoming of the fact that you're in a committed relationship with that family member's family, that your partner is that family member's family, that then you have to be able to know how to identify those red flags, identify those hidden cues, and then effectively put a stop to it in an appropriate fashion and withdraw. Beyond that, it's trying to be involved with family functions and then trying to have your partner involved with family functions. So being able to invite your partner to participate in the family function is important in furthering your relationship. Because if there's a divide between the person that you're dating or married to that you claim is one of the most important people in your life and your family, who is considered also some of the most important people in your life, then which one's more important? That's kind of the underlying question. You can't say that you're just as important to me as they are, but you're sacrificing time with me to go spend time with them. You can't say that that they're less valuable than I am because we're not in the same place at the same time. But you have to be able to know how to bring importance together. So understanding in your relationships with your friends as well as your family, because it's easy for us to make our friends like family because everybody's platonic. It's hard to incorporate those family ties with our romantic partners because our romantic partners have a certain level of yeah, I noticed it too, ladies and gentlemen. Turns out that they are working on some of these cell towers nearby. So don't think that I didn't see that lag. I've been watching that lag. If I got to throw up another internet source, we'll have a lag based moment, and then we'll have an internet filled moment. Only on the YouTube half of things right now, but Twitch seems to be running strong, and it looks like so does Twitter seem to be running strong. Let me know, Red, if we start glitching over there. But it seems like over here by TikTok we are running strong. But yeah, I am seeing that lag, just in case y'all didn't know that I was seeing that lag. I watch and I observe. I'm more than likely probably going to have to pick up a second laptop, and we're going to have side by side situations going on here where I'm going to have the show in two different dynamics. We'll work on that in upcoming times because, like we said, the first thing we got to determine is TikTok still going to be here after January 29th? Because if they're not, well, but if they are, there's like 170 million people on TikTok that's coming to the show that we just want to make sure that everybody's included in these conversations. So I see the flickering of the internet system here. So no worries if I've got to redirect. I do got a couple of devices here that I could probably connect up to the system Now, I know while we're trying to talk about family ties and the upcoming holidays, because I know next week we're supposed to be talking about the history of the holidays and the origins and where they came from. The history and origins of where the holidays came from is completely different from the way we celebrate those holidays. And that kind of ties into what I'm talking about today with how we should really interact with one another when we're interacting with our families. Now, think about these families where you have long lost family members that have fallen off, meaning that you guys have lost contact with one another for months and years. How do you strengthen those family ties? Well, as I said before, you got to start initiating contact. Now, L Beast has said plenty of times before that strengthening and maintaining those family ties through communication is key. Text messages, emails, letters, stuff to that effect, to let them know that those people are still in your thoughts and your mind. That is something that needs to be done. But you also have to remember now, while everything costs money, so I understand that mailing a letter costs money. It's cheap to send an email and it's cheap to send a text message. And not everybody reads their emails, and a lot of people sometimes ignore their text messages. But reaching out to that person is important. Including them in the activities that you have going on. So if you invite them to a function and they don't show up, you don't get mad at them. You want to send them confirmation of the existing event. So for those people who are the Gen Zs that are right now, they're doing selfies and everything like that about every little insignificant thing in life. We've got a generation of folks that will videotape it for posterity as opposed to calling 911 to get help. And when 911 is the problem, you're just really recording it instead of trying to get like a local news station involved to air the catastrophe. So if you guys can take photos and videos of some of the most insignificant things in life and some significant things in other people's lives, you guys can take photos and videos of family functions and family events. And if you're taking photos and videos of family functions and family events, then that means that you are capable of taking photos and videos of the things that are going on in that event that you wanted that other family member to show up at. So you invite them to a family function where a portion of the people come. Whoever doesn't show up, you want to send pictures to those people. Well, this is what we did. This is where we went. Give them little 30-second videos, stuff to that effect after the event is over. You don't want to pester them about because if they're not coming, they're not coming. But if you're going to send them at least a photo that lets them know, hey, so-and-so, I understand that you wasn't able to come. Here's some photos of the activities that we had during the event. We are planning on having another event soon, and we really hope that you're able to make it to that one. And then kind of give them advance notice, and then kind of make sure that you communicate with them and keep them up to speed. Making sure that they have the ability to be included if they want to be included. And that's really probably one of the biggest factors in family that we fail to look at, is that a lot of times you have family members that are excluded from things. And a lot of times it's the fathers, but the family members that are excluded from things. And wanting somebody to be included or giving them the ability to choose to be included requires you to leave an empty chair for that person to come and sit down at if they so choose to come. This means that you're not going to speak ill of them if they don't come, and you're not going to act awkwardly if they do come, but you're going to really give them an open invitation to show up. If you're going to give them an open invitation to show up, then they need to be here. And if they're going to be welcome, then you need to be able to show them, hey, you missed out on this, that, and the third. Hopefully you come next time, like I said before. If you've got two family members that don't like one another, and one's going to show if the other one doesn't show, you don't feel comfortable with not inviting one over the other, and you really don't know what to do. Truth, you throw the invitation out to both of them equally. If you're going to have events where you're only going to bring one of them to the event, you're going to have a similar event where you're going to bring the other one to the other event. What do I mean by that? Let's say you're doing Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving does not have to be a 1 day long event. Well, 2 hour long event. If Thanksgiving is going to be a week to 3 weeks long, you can actually have one Thanksgiving dinner set up a week before or a week after Thanksgiving, and then another Thanksgiving dinner set up the week of Thanksgiving. Or you could have one set the week before Thanksgiving, one set a week after Thanksgiving, and you can go to your family members' houses and pick up food from them the week of Thanksgiving. So and ironically, not too many people really think about this. If you've got a really big family, you can actually make Thanksgiving dinner, invite people to come over to your house either the week before or the week after Thanksgiving. You go to their house the week of, everybody gets a plate. So you're only really hosting Thanksgiving twice. You would host it 3 times if you're going, or you're going to participate in it 3 times if you're going to invite people to your house twice. But if you say, well, hey, so-and-so, we cook at Thanksgiving and we want you to pass by this week, even though Thanksgiving is next week. If you want to pass by this week, come grab your plate, come hang out with the kids, stuff to that effect. That gives that family member the ability to come over. They'll tell you what day out of the week that they'll be able to pass by. You contact the other person. You say, hey, so you got the 2 people that don't like each other. And you say, hey, we're coming by, or we want you to pass by and spend time with us for Thanksgiving. Grab yourself a plate of food, come and hang out with the kids, whatever. You're giving them both the same invitation. Now, you let them know, well, hey, just so that so that you're not caught off guard, Jane Doe said that she was going to be here on like Friday evening. So, I mean, you can come on Friday evening, or you can come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday because the food is here. And that way you can come over and have time with the family without crossing paths with the other person, or you can come and actually really get with the problem that you guys have, kind of work out your issues and navigate to coming together as a family. You're not playing favorites. You're not showing them anything different than what they've already observed in the past, which kind of gives you a clear shot of keeping a positive neutral position between all of your family members. Now, when you're dealing with those in-laws, though, where the girlfriend's in-laws doesn't like the boyfriend's in-laws, this is when you go by her family's house on some days, you go by his family's house on some days, you invite them to your house on some days, and this still actually could apply where you could have 2 separate dinners, where you invite one family to the house for one dinner and you invite the other family to the house for the other dinner. And that way there's no animosity in the house during the holidays, where the people who are not getting along with one another do not have to be in the same place at the same time for the same event. And you don't have to exclude anybody. And that's one of the most important parts about having this particular type of conversation, because it's really a tough talk to really try to discuss, like, how do you navigate really strengthening those bonds? Because after we talked about maintaining long distance relationships on the show the other week, really the same thing that you do with your partner with maintaining a relationship outside of the expressed intimacy in person. You want to exclude that part, because your relationship with your family members should be platonic. The platonic gestures that we were talking about on the show, to be expressed to those family members, and then you're able to build up bonds, and literally catch up on them, Starbucks or something like that, hang out with them in public, go to a local activity. They have game rooms, they have play centers, they have, you guys can go play video games together, because modern generation, everybody's playing video games, but you guys can go to like a putt thing, or Top Golf if you're in the area of a golfing location. This stuff that you guys can find stuff to do where y'all can hang out and have fun together with your family, and you can have fun with your family with your partner, You just have to schedule it around your partner's schedule, and your partner has to make accommodations for your family members. Now, out of appreciation for your partner being able to, your romantic partner being able to accommodate your family, you need to be able to reciprocate that and be able to accommodate your partner's family. That's the forefront of things. If you're not accommodating your partner the way your partner is accommodating you, then you have an imbalance there that you need to really work out. I've always said plenty of times on the show, because we've had a lot of people talk about the man cave since we put up the man cave highlights. We've had some people come up on the show and say, oh, well, the man cave is just like a place where the men can do things that they can't do in the rest of the house. No. A man cave is a place that is supposed to be no women allowed, because the thoughts and opinions and values of the woman is not accepted beyond this point. And a man cave is an isolated location where all of the man's most prized expectations are in this particular location, where he can be acknowledged and recognized as a man. But the rest of the house, he submits to the woman. Because if a man was able to be in his entire house as a man, the only thing that he would not be able to do in front of the rest of the family would be smoke, if the family are non-smokers. But what are you going to do in a man cave that you're not going to do in a living room? You're going to shoot pool. You wouldn't shoot pool in the living room because you don't have a pool table in the living room. But you don't have a pool table in a specific room of the house because a pool table isn't allowed in the rest of the house. You have a pool table there because that's the only place it fits. But if you're at the pool table drinking beers and smoking cigarettes in the garage, you're not out there in a quote unquote man cave where, no kids allowed. You're just there in the garage because the pool table fits in the garage. It doesn't fit in the living room with the sectional and the entertainment system. There's not enough space between the sectional and the dining room. But people with 3,500 square foot houses have a room inside of the house with a pool table in it, and they still have another even larger room in the house with a sectional in it, and two recliners, and a massive 100-inch flat screen TV, if not a projector, and another room in the house with a dining table for 12, which does not come to the magnitude that you have to have a pool table, quote unquote, in the man cave. So when we talked about that man cave, it's like, look, guys, man caves are for people who are forced to separate themselves as men from the rest of their family when they're recognized as subordinate to their wife or their girlfriend. Because if the man was able to be a man throughout 100% of his house, he would be able to play video games and watch sports and whatever the case may be, wherever he wants in his house, because his entire house will be his kingdom. So if we're coming from this perspective where you guys are going to respect yourselves and respect your partners, you don't necessarily need a man cave. What you might need, though, is a smoking location. If you guys are going to smoke and you don't want the kids to be around the smoking, you're going to have a smoking location. That's not a man cave. That's a smoking location. You see what I'm saying? So if you have a hobby shop, if you're building a boat, that's not a man cave. That's a hobby shop. You're building a boat. If you're putting together model cars, that's not a man cave. That, you know what I'm saying? That's an arts and crafts room. And really think about this. And I've had a couple of guys on the show that really call themselves trying to defend the fact that, well, shit, we can't really have nothing. You're right, we can't, because if you are respected across the board, you are in your own house. You can do whatever it is that you want to do in your house, wherever you want to do it. If you're in somebody else's house, you have limitations to the authority of that person's house. You respect that person's house. So you only do certain things in certain areas where they tell you it's okay. You go to your girlfriend's dad's house, and if he has a different room in the house where he's got a shooting range in the backyard, it's not a man cave in the backyard. It's just that you don't shoot firearms in the house. So think about it. Think about it. If you're playing horseshoes in the front yard, you're not playing horseshoes in the house because you don't play horseshoes inside. So there is no such thing as like a den or a foyer or whatever, or a garage or anything like that, a specific location in the house where that's the only place that men can be men. Once you do that, you have restrictive behavior allowed in a behavior, you have the development of a man cave. So being able to have the guys come over and hang out at your house, and like, you and your homeboys, or you and your girls brothers and fathers and uncles, and y'all are gonna all sit in the same room, and y'all are gonna drink beers and smoke cigars and curse while playing Madden or whatever, or fight night or something like that, and you don't want the kids to be involved in that, then yeah, you go into a specific room for that. But also think about this though, you guys could do that in the open living room, and all the kids could be in the kids room. Now, here's the identification, the difference between being free to do whatever you're supposed to do throughout the house versus being restricted to an isolated location, and then calling that isolated location a man cave. The kids room is a place where the kids are allowed to be kids. When the kids come out of that room, they have to behave. So the attitudes and behaviors of the kids being rambunctious and laughing and screaming and playing with toys and flipping stuff upside down and all of that stuff that's done in the kids room, the playroom, that's isolated to that room. When they come out of that room, they're supposed to be respectful. Yes sir, no sir. Sit down, speak when they're spoken to, get up, leave when they're told to leave. All the kids sit in the same room. We have a lot of families where Thanksgiving is held where the adults sit at one table and the kids sit at another table. The eating styles of the adults at the adult table are not the same as the eating styles of the kids at the kids table. Typically, we have at least one adult at the kids table to monitor the kids. That is probably the only situation where it is not an oppressive scenario, because the adult that's sitting at the kids table is making sure that all the kids eat. You have some adults that are placed at the kids table because they're not respected by the other adults, but you have somebody who actually voluntarily goes and sits with the kids and eats with the kids to make sure all the kids eat, and then the rest of the adults sit at the adults table and have adult conversation. You have to be able to separate the kids from the adults so that the kids are not experiencing the negative impacts that the adults are projecting towards one another in front of the kids. But that's the only time that there's supposed to be separation. So when you're dealing with family where you have everybody is an adult, no kids are involved, you shouldn't have a separation where, well, I can't go in certain rooms and behave in certain ways because so-and-so is in that room. You're supposed to be having the same behavior with or without that person there. You're supposed to have that same activity able to be done with or without being in a room with certain people. Now, the only thing that you're not supposed to be freely able to get out there and go and tackle is expressions of romance is supposed to be limited when you're dealing with social functions, especially with family. Now, there's the occasional public displays of affection, but you're not supposed to be really sucking each other's faces off in front of family. There is the appropriate kiss of the hand. There is the appropriate kiss on the cheek. You guys can probably kiss you like a peck on the lips or something like that. Maybe something on the forehead, but really just making out in front of other people in the family functions, that doesn't strengthen family, guys. That's a little bit inappropriate. It's awkward, and it does make some people uncomfortable. Now, if it's your house, you do whatever you want to do in your house. But if you go to their house, you should probably learn some self-control. Chime in if you got some 2 cents here. We have, for those of you that are sliding in, you can click the link. Approve the mic, approve the camera. You can dive in real time and be able to express your thoughts and opinions and concerns on this topic. While we're talking about, what do we do to bring family together? What do we do to as I work through this lag, we're trying to figure out how to fill the void between family members and non-family members when we're dealing with relationships, because as we get closer to the holidays, we have to come to understand that those of us that just met a significant other, do you want to bring your newly discovered boyfriend or girlfriend of less than 6 months to family functions in the upcoming holidays in the next 2 or 3 months? Or do you want to reserve that for next year? If you guys are going to reserve that for next year, are you guys going to stay together and spend your first holiday together this year? Which would essentially, it could potentially break your family traditions if your tradition is to go home for the holiday, go home for family days, and now you're not going home for family day because you're in a new relationship. The contradiction of, well, I don't really want to introduce you to my family yet, but I'm going to have to explain to them why I'm not coming. I know a lot of people like to lie and make up an excuse. They're busy, they've got to work, stuff to that effect. But let's be real, just telling them, I met somebody new and I'm not sure if it's okay for me to bring them over for the holidays yet. We're still getting to know each other. We haven't really solidified long-term goals. 2-3 months in, you haven't really solidified long-term goals. Most relationships are in the here and now. So if you have here and now relationships that hasn't really started mapping out like 2-year, 5-year, 10-year plans, where you guys are going to start doing things together as a cohesive unit, then you might not feel comfortable with bringing that person back home to visit the family for the holidays. So how do you navigate with your partner which holidays you guys are going to split up on and go to your separate families, which holidays you guys are going to stay together with, and abandon any family traditions? If you do not have family traditions, you guys can spend the holidays together. It'll be your first holiday together. But here's a really good question. If you're dating somebody, they don't have strong family ties. You have strong family ties. If they're not with you, they're more than likely going to be alone for the holidays. Do you stay home with that person so that they're not alone for the holidays? Or do you bring that person with you and introduce that person to your family sooner rather than later? That's an interesting question. I can't provide you with an answer on that because it really depends on the person. If you're dating a person that doesn't have strong family values, well, I can't say strong family values, strong family traditions. If they do not have strong family traditions, do you abandon your family traditions to spend time to this person, showing dedication to a newly formed relationship? Or do you invite this person into your family traditions? Me, myself, I would probably do a little bit of both. I would probably say, well, there are certain functions where the family doesn't quite get together. So those functions I might skip to be with my partner. And then there are some functions where the family definitely does get together and I'm going to go, but I'm going to bring my partner with me. In the early stages of your romantic relationships, the dedication to the relationship itself is probably the most important. So if you favor other things over your relationship, you're not really giving your relationship a chance to blossom. It's the difference between taking a plant that needs sun and putting it out in the sun versus keeping it in the closet. The more you keep it in the closet, the less the plant blossoms and flourishes. Your relationship is somewhat the same way. The longer you keep your relationship a secret, the more uncomfortable you're going to make your partner, and the less success your relationship is going to have. Because at some point, while your partner might entertain, let's keep it a secret, just for the sake of the positive response that you give to them agreeing with you for keeping it a secret, you have to understand that they still also have to battle the fact that they want everybody to know that you guys are an item, because that person might actually be intending for a long haul relationship with you, and you have not wrapped your mind around that long haul relationship. So it's always good while we're here at the second going on third week of October. Well, actually, we're on the 17th, so we're crossing over. We're in week 3, technically. I think there's, like, depending on which day of the week you're looking at, there's like five of that day in the week for the month of October, but there's 4 days, and most days out of the week we don't have block calendars. And they don't have 13 months, even though there's 52 weeks. And if you divide 52 by 4, you're going to end up with 13. I don't know how they do the math, but just look at the fact that we're halfway through the month of October right now. We're more than halfway through the month of October right now. Come together and really start doing holiday functions together. Halloween typically is individualized. The adults take the kids out for a good time. Halloween used to be for the kids, but Halloween is not actually a family get together kind of thing anymore. Not in 2024. I can't remember it being a family get together kind of thing in 2020. In other cultures outside of America, you would see family get-togethers happening during Halloween or Halloween style holidays like the worship of the dead and stuff like that. I can't remember what they called it in Mexico, but the Hispanic culture has it where they actually have a whole family function. But you have a lot of other cultures that are more family oriented than the Western United States culture. So when we're looking at bonds that we're going to be developing with those family ties in America, we have to understand that because there's very few traditions there that we keep from childhood, not too many of us can raise our hands and say, I remember the stuff that we used to do when we were a kid and we're still doing it now. So you start building traditions in the family that you start to build, whether you build a family out of your friends, whether you keep the family that you grew up with, whether you build a family out of your spouse's family members. You start kind of building your own family as an adult. And as you build your own family as an adult, you start working on developing traditions. Early on in a relationship, especially like I said, where I was going with this in a moment ago, as we start getting closer to those holidays, you got to start being able to decipher what traditions you're going to have. Are you guys going to have those Halloween parties where you're going to invite people over to the house? I recommend against that. Why? Because I don't want to have to clean up. So I would recommend that we put on like similar costumes, themed costumes or something to that effect. And we go out there, or, I'll just do like I always do and put on a suit and you put on a costume. And then we go out there and we go somewhere else and enjoy the festivities, do whatever trick-or-treating that we're going to do, and engage with each other the way we need to engage with each other, and engage with the society as we're going to engage with society. Take our kids out, take their nieces and nephews out, take our friends' kids out if our friends, because here's another thing that I come to find out, because when you got really close friends and they want to have an adult day and they need a babysitter, they typically fall on their friend. So if it falls on you where you got to take your friend's kid out for Halloween, you and your girlfriend or you and your wife, and you're going to take your kids and your friends' kids out for Halloween day, it's your time to take the kid, then just go have fun with the kids. So Halloween is not necessarily a day for the adults to really get together and do adult stuff together. But Thanksgiving, that's a day when it's like, let's come together and appreciate each other for who we are. So once you start doing that on Thanksgiving, that's when you got to start planning now. Are we going to host it? Are we going to host it on Thanksgiving Day? Most people host it on Thanksgiving Day. Are we going to host one that is not on Thanksgiving Day? Or are we going to have a buffet to go style, like have it ready for the week of Thanksgiving and you come whenever you feel like it between Monday and Friday of Thanksgiving, and whatever doesn't get picked up by Friday is leftovers for the upcoming week? We can do that too. But we should not have a scenario where we are bumping heads about, well, everybody's doing it at 6:00 and we got to pit who. Where sometimes Thanksgiving was at some people's houses at noon, between 12 and 3, we would have dinner. Then we would go by somebody else's house between 5 and 7. And then we would go by somebody else's house. And then between like 9 and 11. And then the next day we would go by somebody else's house. You know what I'm saying? Where we kind of like just spread it out. We would give them 2 or 3 hours. We wouldn't just run into the house and just grab a plate of food, shake a bunch of hands, and walk out. We would actually hang out there for a couple hours. But we mapped it out where we're like, okay, we're going to spend certain time with this much family on these days. But we also had this stuff scheduled out in advance. Who all are we going to go see? And notifying those family members, hey, I'm going to go by cousin so-and-so's house earlier in the day. We're going to leave from cousin so-and-so. We're going to go by auntie so-and-so. We're going to leave from auntie so-and-so. We're going to go to her relatives or his relatives. And then we're going to come over by your house. That way they know you're visiting as many people as possible in the same area. And then you're going to stop by so-and-so later in the evening. They'll save you some food. If you've got family that's on two different sides, or if you've got family that are on opposite sides of the state where there's a 4.5 hour commute, 2 hour plane trip kind of thing where you're only going to get to one of them. It's like, look, we're going to go by so-and-so today. We're going to go by you tomorrow. That's how you map it out. But you still got to map it out. Try to be inclusive. If you've got to do a diagram of the family members that host holiday events and your family tradition between you and your significant other is that you guys are going to treasure hunt your way through both sides of the family, where you go to some of your family and some of his or her family and some of your family and some of his or her family, where you just meet everybody and you guys socialize with each other, and then pick a day where you invite all of the people that you didn't get to visit to your house so that they can come and spend time with you at your house. That way you still get a chance to spend time with everybody. If you got a small place, you're still going to invite as many people as possible, and whoever shows up, and whoever doesn't show up, we was already at capacity anyway. You take a group photo of everybody that showed up, send it to everybody who did and did not participate, and you've got holiday cards. Really, if you guys remember, those of you that are millennials, those of you that are Gen Xers, y'all know we actually stopped having holiday cards, official holiday cards, back when we stopped having Kodak cameras. If y'all remember the camera where you had to wind that sumbitch up and then take a picture and then wind that sumbitch up again, and then you had to take the roll and bring it down to the photo place and pay them, and the express printing would be like 1 to 2 hours, but the normal thing, they call you within the end of the week and let you know that your photos are ready, and then you get this little thing that you get. Remember the Polaroid camera where you would take it and then it would and then give you the little thing and you had to shake it until the picture came clear, and then if the picture was good, then you took another one. You remember that? That's when you had holiday cards. Holiday cards used to be the photos. It's supposed to be from back in the day, way back in the day. It's supposed to be photos of when the family was getting along. And then you use that photo in a holiday card that says, wish you were here, miss you, thinking about you, hope you can come next time kind of situation. And then you send that to the people who didn't bring their ass to the last event. That's what holiday cards were. In case you forgot, 35 people showed up, where the fuck was you? Holiday card is what you're sending to somebody else. Wish you were here. Only time it's okay for you not to show up is when you're overseas during active duty or incarcerated. If you are at work instead of with your family, how dare you? Holiday card. That's what you're sending. We don't get that anymore. Now, our holiday cards is something that you've seen in the gift card section of Walmart, where it says holiday. You find something with a pretty shiny photo on it that has some pretty nifty words on it, completely unoriginal, because there's about 300 of them in that aisle there, and you're mailing that off to somebody to say, oh, I sent the holiday card with the Amazon gift card or a Walmart prepaid card, and I care about you. No. Let's take a photo of when Uncle Bob fell off the kitchen table trying to pretend like let's take that photo and send it to you and be like, man, you should have been here. Uncle Bob was being ridiculous. Let's take a photo of a family game night with Pictionary where mom was pretending like she was the Rock to emphasize when the Rock was playing the Tooth Fairy in that movie. Look, that's photos like the hilarious interpersonal engagements where family is being themselves with family and not fighting at the same time. That's some of the best times to have. That's the best times to document. But in these situations where we are literally dealing with bickering amongst one another, yeah, we got to put a stop to that in 2024. We got to be able to say that we can come together as family in our holidays, during good times, even neutral times. It doesn't always have to be great. It doesn't always have to be fantastic. It just has to not be conflictual. Positive and neutral should be encouraged. Non-conflictual. That's what we're looking for 2024. So when we're trying to bring our families together this year, we need to be trying to map that out. Those of us that are still single, you don't always have to bring a date to your family events. I understand that some people have family events where everybody's hooked up for the holidays, but you already know that most of these hookups are temporary, and you being comfortable with being single is probably the best thing for you than for you to be in a toxic relationship just so that you can show up to a family function and not have the fact that everybody's asking you, why are you still single? If you're a single person and you're showing up to your family function, hey, you got more takeout food to take, you got more goodies that you can eat, and you're moving at your own pace. So show up to those family functions and be proud of being single, because it's better than the worst thing in the world is to have an argument with your partner in front of your family. And I think the second worst thing to have is to have an argument with a family member in front of your partner. And Lord knows when physical fights break out in the family engagements where the partner doesn't know which side to take, and you know, you already know that if it's a fight between you and your partner, that the family is going to take your side unless your family hates your guts. Then the partner is going to feel oppressed in that situation because they can't really be themselves. They can't really do the things that they normally would do because of fear of judgment from a bunch of people they don't know. So, you know, you want to encourage us to be able to interact with one another in a non-conflictual, non-biased scenario where we're all getting along and having a good time with one another and encouraging each other to express ourselves more positive. It really brings the family closer together, being able to sit down and talk, being able to communicate and vent, and be able to administer a lot of positive interaction between one another is probably one of the most encourageable things that I would promote in most recent times. You know, I would say that it is probably better for us to be able to push a scenario where you know, we're closer. We're closer to one another. Think about a lot of the other, and I know I talk about a lot of these other cultures, but I know that Romania has high family values. You know, Switzerland, Sweden, Finland, Asia, you know, they have high family values out there, and America just has a lot of financial traditions where we just spend money with the trends. We catch the sales, we catch Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and you know, the holiday specials and the after holiday specials and the New Year's sales, but we're not actually really doing anything that doesn't require us wasting money on stuff. We're not, and I already told you guys on the show a few times this week and last week how instead of wasting a bunch of money on certain things that we really could spend a lot more of our money towards investing in stocks and real estate and other such. And I just feel like when we're dealing with the family ties, like buying food to feed the family, probably the only encourageable thing that I would say waste your money on. Invest your money in. Buy food to feed the family, buy food to feed the rest of the family for family functions. But, you know, all those extra decorations and candles and other stuff that's going to be thrown away and never be used again, I still feel like, yeah, you can decorate your house for the holidays. I'm not going to decorate my house for the holidays because I'm not spending thousands upon thousands of dollars for a bunch of stuff that I got to drag out into the yard to entertain people that pass by my house that I'm never going to see. Then I'm going to go through all this trouble taking it all back down, and then I got to put it away so that I can drag it all back out again. No, that's a waste of money and that's a waste of effort. But some people do it and they celebrate the holidays and enjoy it. If that is part of your family activity where you guys are going to get together and build a snowman or put together decorations for Halloween, that really could be a task for you. You guys can have right now this week inviting family members over to the house to help you set up for Thanksgiving, help you set up for Christmas. Because really funny thing is that Halloween is less prepared for than Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving is really a 1 hour event. So there's no decorations throughout the yard for Thanksgiving, but Christmas is like the most decorative event possible. So if you had family and you're going to say, well, family tradition is we're going to decorate this specific house for Thanksgiving, then you have everybody come over for Halloween. You guys start decorating the house for Thanksgiving. Christmas trees and Santa Clauses and snowmen and fireplaces and all this, that, and the other. And that be the activity. Now, that's technically not considered a waste of money, because you guys are going to do this as a family. You're going to build memories. You're going to take photos. The photos that you take are going to become your holiday cards. So you have the photos of that one time when crazy Uncle Joe was trying to hang up the socks over the fireplace and fell in the fireplace. And you're going to take other photos of when Auntie Jane was trying to help Grandpa Billy put the reindeer on the roof, and the reindeer came off the roof and Billy was hanging off of the roof by his pants. So you're gonna have these holiday photos, these mishaps when everybody's trying to do stuff together. You guys are gonna have fun. You guys are gonna have laughs. You guys are gonna build memories, and those memories are supposed to be captured and then turned into holiday cards. So the more stuff that you guys do together, the larger the family function, the larger the family activity, the more bonding you guys can do. So if you're going to invest in something like that, I would encourage that. But I'm not going to sit there and do it. I'm not going to spend all of my money on entertaining a bunch of people that I don't know. That part I'm not going to do, because it really, that is a selfish way. You're wasting resources in a selfish way to get social praise. And there's no reason for that. If you are worth praising, then if you're that important to the people around you, then they're going to praise you. So you shouldn't invest a bunch of effort to have a 20-foot Santa Claus singing "Here Comes Santa Claus" at 9 o'clock at night when your neighbor's kids are trying to sleep. They got to go to school in the morning. There's no reason for that. You don't need to have a active waterfall on your roof that is functioning to show snow throughout a hot day in Florida doing El Nino. Yeah, that's not what's going on right now. You know what I'm saying? You're doing too much. And it's a waste of money. And the people who see it might say, "Oh, sweet, your house is cool." They don't even know who you are, because you're not standing out there like Tim the Two-Man Taylor, like, "I did this for 3 months." It's not happening. If the news decides to put your house on there for some of the most outrageous and probably most expensive displays of holiday celebration, like, that's probably all you're going to get. But it's a waste of money. I feel like you should spend your money more on family. If you're going to waste your money, you should waste it more on family. So again, find things that your family members like to do. Find things that if your family members had something that they needed that they just couldn't get for themselves, get that. If they wanted something, and it's got to be within a reasonable budget. If they wanted something and they just did not have the resources to get it for themselves, if they wanted to get something for their kids and they weren't able to provide it for the kids, that's what you do. You get them what they need. You get your family members stuff that they can use for a long period of time. You see what I'm saying? I gotta say, for the Gen Zs, the most dominant gift that you can get for gamers today will probably be Grand Theft Auto 6 and maybe a PlayStation if they don't already have one, or an Xbox, because Xbox is better than PlayStation. But beyond that, if you don't get them the most recently constructed Xbox to accompany that Grand Theft Auto 6, like, find stuff practical for them. If you upgraded and bought yourself a new car, you still got the old car, give the kids, the ones that are 15, 16 years old, 17 years old, give the kids a used car for their birthday, their upcoming Christmas present, or something like that. Detail it, clean it out, make sure you take out everything of value out of it, make sure you take out everything incriminating out of it, clean it out, wash it, put a pretty little bow on it, give them your old car for a holiday. A lot of kids like hand-me-downs when it comes down to getting their first car, because it's better for you to get your first hand-me-down than it is for you to never get a car. And their first new car is typically an accomplishment as an adult for them to buy their first new car. The pride behind that, but the pride behind having their first brand new car, if it's new to them or if it's just brand new in and of itself, that is some of the things that kids love to do. But also being able to teach your children financial responsibility from the age of 8, where you could teach them how to save up their money and invest their money. They can go and get themselves a car. They can go and buy themselves a brand new car. They can buy themselves a brand new car. But remember also, since Elon Musk already put out that $30,000 drive yourself car, they don't technically need to. You know, you just get into this car and let it take you where you want to go. I kind of feel like that might be the first thing I go and get my hands on. Instead of spending 100 grand on a 125 grand on a Cybertruck, I could spend 30 grand a piece on like 4 or 5 of those drive yourself cars, and then let it take me where I'm gonna go. That way I can't get pulled over and given a citation if I'm not driving. So for those of you that are party animals that like to go to the bars and clubs and turn upside down and get carried home, like you guys, the car drives itself. The first autonomous car, you guys would be able to go to the clubs, get smashed, not get a DUI, go home. Those of you that got suspended driver's licenses, you guys could get this car. Y'all could go where y'all got to go and not worry about going to jail for driving on a suspended license, because you're not operating the motor vehicle. You're sitting in the back seat. There's like no steering wheel. There's space between you and the back seat to the magnitude where you're not operating this vehicle. You are a passenger, but you own the car. You can get in the car and go where you got to go. Sweet. And truth, if you've got a suspended license, you can join family, register a vehicle to your family member. That way your family member owns the car. You're just going to be a passenger in the car. So you just get in the car and go. They take you where you got to go. You're less likely to get pulled over. And the reason why I say less likely is because some of the Teslas have committed traffic violations, and in parking lots though, where they did not acknowledge stop signs and stuff to that effect. But as we see how those cars flagship out into today's modern time, we'll be able to see that one of two ways that they're going to mainstream autonomous driving is either outlawing the gas powered car, or charging such a high driving tax for drivers that do not have autonomous cars that people are going to invest in autonomous cars so that they don't have to pay all those fees. And that's typically how business controls the market. If you want somebody to buy something that is less favorable by the masses, you overcharge on something that you don't want them to spend money on, so that they will pay for the stuff that you want them to spend money on as a consolation, which then boosts up the sales of that particular item. So either way, I'm going to tell you guys, we got to figure out a better way. Send them letters, start creating holiday cards, start creating family activities. You guys can have a rebuild the house day, remodel the house day, update the house day, spring clean the house day, bring the family members over. Don't overstay your welcome. Don't spend too much time getting too close to certain family members. Make sure that you keep a respectable platonic distance between your partner's family members. And if you are a family member of somebody who has a partner, make sure that you keep respectable platonic distance between yourself and your family members, partners, and try your best to bring together, ideally, more positive relationships, so that you guys can see more success in your relationships. That's one of the things that we want to do. We want to see more success happening in our relationships, not only with our family, but with our romantic partners, because our romantic partners are going to become part of our family if they're going to be on that long-term goal for foreverness. You're going to be dealing with romantic partners that are going to become part of the family. So that means that you have to, a lot like Meet the Fockers, you want to make sure that you incorporate your family, your significant other into the inner circle. Now, you as the partner have to have that long-term goal, that permanent fixture type of mentality. And if you have that long-term permanent fixture type of mentality, then you're able to go in there and make it do what it do, knowing that by them giving you a way in, that you're not going to abuse that and you're not going to abandon that. And if you're able to do that, then you're able to have a more successful, long-lasting relationship, and you're able to develop better relationships with your already existing family members and rekindle long forgotten relationships with family members that you guys have disassociated with over an extended period of time. So I encourage you guys to come together. I encourage you guys to give each other a chance, and also give your partner a chance, and also be a better partner to your partner. That way you guys can be able to end 2024 with a more positive outlook. With that being said, I want you guys to remember that we are live 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 5 Pacific. We're going to go ahead and walk out of TikTok first. So you guys, ladies, as I've always said before, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, make it make sense. And then as we sign out of TikTok, I just want you guys to know on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, I really appreciate you guys coming to the show. I really appreciate you guys putting your 2 cents in on the show. Wow. As soon as I start thanking you guys for coming to the show, I actually come back and I look and I'm like, Twitter ain't Twitch and Twitter got a lot more going right. You got me salty right now. But yeah, I really appreciate you. Really appreciate you guys coming, because you guys do make the show. You guys are always very supportive of what we do. We've got a lot of things coming up. We're going to be working on. Wow, there's no. Real. All right, so we've got some other stuff going on later on this week in the show. We got some other different styles of relationship topics that we're going to be doing. We got our members only show on Sunday. I'm double checking this week for Owen. I was supposed to call somebody about a fragrance. I didn't call them today. I was burned out, but I'm going to give them a nice call, and I'm going to be talking to them, and we're going to try to work things out probably tomorrow about some other products that's going to be coming up. I have the book. I haven't read the book. I've been doing a lot of things. I'm going to get into the book this weekend, so we're going to be talking about the book at some point, but I am going to make sure that when I do talk about what happened with the book, that I'm going to be talking about the book on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday with the financing and investment book. I have to cover at least 2 or 3 different chapters of the book to be able to comfortably say that I read some of the book, and there are some things in the book that I actually did. Not saying that I'm not going to like the book. I believe that the book is fantastic from cover to cover. I just believe that if I don't read the entire book, I should actually just talk about a couple of points out of the book that I actually read. You know, I want to bring you guys facts. I don't want to bring you guys hypotheticals. I don't want to bring you guys false information. So before I go into, I told you guys he covered some stuff in that book, some of the chapters in the book that I actually really wanted to get more information on. And reading the overview of what he was talking about, he was actually talking about stocks, more so stocks. There might be some information in there about bonds and CDs and other forms of cash flow. But when I start getting into those chapters, I'm going to be talking about those chapters on the show. I might even make a show about one of his topics in the book, like the whole show is about that particular topic, where I can correlate some of the knowledge that I got from him with some other professionals that are talking about the same topics. And then we can discuss ways to accomplish these things, coin the book, and also show you where to go to get that book from. So we're going to be talking about that book probably Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday of next week, outside of our day that we're going to be talking about where the holidays came from, Halloween, Thanksgiving. We know where Thanksgiving came from, but like the origin of Christmas and specifically Halloween, because those days are days that we kind of like forgot the meaning of it after all of the anti-terrorist prohibitions that have come up that has restricted us from celebrating the holidays the way we celebrated it back in the 90s and the 80s and the 70s. So the way things are in 2024, and those of you that are young bucks that are looking at the podcast like, shoot, I wasn't even born in 2000. You guys are going to be saying that at 24, you guys are saying anybody that was celebrating Thanksgiving and Halloween and Christmas in the 90s is old. I'm just going to tell you real talk. It was better back then. So, you know, you're missing out. the old folks had it best. I'm going to be honest with you, because the people that you call old got a chance to have house parties, and you guys have house parties, but you guys didn't have the kind of Halloween parties that we had, off in a cabin in the woods somewhere that we built ourselves. We had adultless parties, not because our parents went to town, but because our parents left to go entertain themselves in their adult function, and left all the kids to go and do their kid thing, like the Rugrats. We were just out there. We had freedom because we were taught responsibility at a young age. So our parents didn't just disown us and say, go figure something out. Our parents taught us at 7, 8, 9 years old how to be responsible and how to make responsible decisions. So at 16, 17, 18 years old, we were already independent. Like, you see the kids in Asia that are so independent that 7, 8, 9 years old, they're taking themselves to school. They're walking without adults. They find their own ways to class. They're in class on time. They attend. They show up. They go home. They're home on time for dinner. That no adults have to figure out where the kids are in Asia. But here in America, the child's got an appointment. One adult has to hand the child off to another adult to make sure that the child gets there. The lack of responsibility upon a child in our modern times is one of the reasons why the children are so unprepared. The reason why you're considered a child under your parents' income at 24, 25, 26 years old. You're still on your parents' insurance at 24, 25, 26 years old, because children are not responsible. They're not taught responsibility until it's already too late. And then they're being taught responsibility late. So you guys at 24 years old right now don't know what it's like to be able to make adult decisions at 16, 15, 14 years old. Have your first car at 14, 15, 16 years old. Drive to high school in your own car that you bought with your own money. And run a business at 18, 17, 16 years old. Most of you guys don't know what that stuff is like. So when we start talking about the holidays that existed before you were born, and the way we used to be able to get in the car, pick up all of our friends, and drive around and trick or treat at 16, 17 years old, dress up at whatever we wanted to dress up as, and go to different people's houses and have house parties, and drive to different cities and have a good time. Like the stuff that we used to be able to do back in the 90s that you guys are not allowed to do anymore. The way that we used to be able to go and get candy from anybody and not have to worry about it having anthrax or something like that in it, not having to worry about taking a candy from a stranger anymore. Y'all can't get close to somebody that's got a van with no windows on it, even if he's trying to do a good job, because y'all are going to swear to God that y'all are going to be abducted. But back when we were younger, the person with the mystery machine, that's where all the fun was. And we survived. We survived from garden hoses. We didn't have bottled water. We survived. We didn't have video games. We survived. We didn't have social media. We didn't have internet. Internet wasn't made until 2009. So in 1996, we went outside and we found stuff to do. Like that was a generation where, like, real adventure and real thought and real exploration of ourselves, as well as the people that we interacted with, being able to truly define our friends and our family from interaction, in-person interaction. The romantic relationships that we got into was because of the people that we interacted with in person. And the success of that relationship was our investment in getting there and staying there for as long as possible without getting in trouble for breaking curfew, being home before the streetlights came on. Nowadays, y'all seeing one another on social media and y'all dating, because y'all talking to y'all texting each other back and forth on an app, and y'all are dating. If you got somebody that you ain't met in person, you ain't dating nobody. I'm gonna tell you that right now. If you got somebody you have not met in person, you is not dating nobody. You texting folks, but you ain't dating nobody. You DMing people, which is a direct message, and I don't know why y'all turn text messaging into direct messaging, but you're DMing somebody. So you're DMing somebody. That's not dating. That's not dating. That's not romantic relationships. Y'all don't have the type of social interactions with one another for y'all to be able to identify what a real relationship is. And that's one of the reasons why 2024, the dating game is so construed, because nobody really understands the way things used to be, and the breakdown between the way things used to be in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s and 90s. It stopped in the 90s. It started phasing out in the 80s and 90s, and it just really went downhill in the 2000s. By 2010, the dating game was so toxic. By 2024, man, you guys are just dealing with what's left. And I'm sorry that we let it go that way, but truth be told, you know, the ghosting thing that you guys got, that's a normal habit these days. That used to not be a thing. We used to be able to communicate with people and tell them legitimately, I'm not going to call you, or I'm not going to, if you got my number, I'm not going to answer the phone if you call me. Like, we were straight up, we were straightforward with that. You know, we're not going to mislead you into believing, yeah, we're interested. Well, hold on. The men didn't do that. I can say some women did still was as deceitful as they are today. They're more conniving about it now than what they used to be, but more often than not, like even the women were direct. They would just tell you, I'm not interested. They're not going to lie and say I have a boyfriend. They're not going to just come up and make up all kinds of excuses as to why they're just not going to do it. They're just not going to do it. And that's one of the things that we have to think about when back in those days when men were oppressive because of their skills. You impressed the girl because of the effort you put into testing her intellect. You would have a nice catchful line where you kind of flirt with her and kind of, you know, a pickup line that you would say to the girl that would make her laugh. You would entertain the girl with the effort that you put into whatever activity that you guys did, even if the activity was cheap or free. The effort that you put into setting up the schedule for today's date is what they valued and appreciated. The effort that you put into taking time off from work, if you had a full-time job, to go and spend time with her, is what they appreciated back in the day. Family was the same way back in those days, because the effort that you took in taking off from work so that you could go be with family, the effort that you took into canceling important obligations to be home with family, or it was important to you, but you know, you canceled it so that you could be there with the family members. You schedule around your family. That's how you was able to show family that you were important. They were important to you back then, and they would celebrate you to show you that you're important to them back then. And back in those days, your birthday party wasn't set up by you. You didn't buy a bunch of alcohol and a bunch of food and invite a bunch of people over to your birthday party. Back in those days, they had a thing called surprise parties where you did absolutely nothing for your birthday. What would happen is that somebody who knew you would distract you for half of the day, and everybody that mattered to you would set up a flash mob style surprise birthday party, and everybody who could make it for the surprise part would make it for the surprise part, and everybody who could make it after the surprise part happened would apologize for running late and missing the surprise part. Everybody would talk about the look on your face when you got surprised, about the fact that everybody that you mattered to jumped out of nowhere and screamed surprise and scared the bejesus out of you. And then you guys would spend the rest of the afternoon celebrating you. Nowadays, you don't see stuff like that. So when you start talking about, oh, I heard this before, where you calling all the people that are born in 1990 or before that, Unc. Unc is your uncle. Your uncle is family. I ain't your family. I ain't Unc. You identify somebody that's older than you as sir, not uncle. You know, if I'm old enough to be your daddy, if I'm old enough to be your uncle, I'm old enough for you to say sir, not Unc. So mutual respect. But take this into consideration. Those of us that's old enough for you to identify as Unc is old enough to have lived a more fulfilling lifestyle than what you guys have lived in modern times. And you guys got to think about, go back into the past and see what tradition used to be like, see what family functions used to be like, see what social interaction used to be like before the internet, and try to see if you can incorporate some of that into your today behavior styles. Those of you that are 28 years old, you guys that are 28 years old was 4 years before. If you're 28, 29 years old, that means that you were 4 in the year 2000. So you guys are part of the old group, but you guys that are born in 1996, I mean, let's be real, 1996, 1998, 1993, if you're 30 years old, you guys know a little bit of time before the internet became a thing. You guys know a little bit of time. You were a teenager when cell phones were already a rage, because cell phones started becoming a thing in the 90s, and cell phones was widely popular, and telephone booths were being removed by 2000. So you know, you guys, when you guys were 10 and 11 years old, your parents had cell phones. So you guys don't really remember too much about cell phone, but I know you remember a time before video games. I know you remember a time before video games becoming a thing. Those of you that are born in 96 to 2000 and well, between 96 and 2001. So by 2009, when the internet became a thing, you know, you guys got to understand that so much has changed, but y'all were like teenagers in 2009. So here in 2024, you forgot what it's like to really get personal with your family, and you forgot what it's like to really get in person and personal with your friends, and you forgot what it's like to not have self-isolation. So I encourage you guys in 2024, towards the end of this year, for you guys to spend more time getting in person with everybody that matters to you. So if you've got friends and family that you haven't been spending much time with, start spending time with them. If you've got girlfriends or boyfriends that you have not been paying much attention to, you've been spending a lot of time at work, go give them your undivided attention. If you've got somebody that you claim is dating you and they're in a different state or a long distance relationship in a different country, FaceTime them, Skype them, Snapchat them, something. Get a video call going where you're communicating with this person, and you start spending more time video chatting with this person than texting and emailing this person. If you guys if one of you is working a full-time job and the other one's in college, hey, video chat with them. Video chat with them after school, video chat with them on your lunch break, video chat with them in between classes. Spend more time talking to your significant other. That way you can let the people in your life that matter to you know that they matter to you, so that those people that are important, that you are important to, can then reciprocate and remind you that you are important to them. Because without that, relationships fade. You forget. And when you forget, you stop applying yourself. And when you stop applying yourself, those relationships dissipate. And once those relationships dissipate, they can be rekindled. But so many years will pass by before you remember the last time you hung out with your favorite uncle or your favorite aunt or your favorite niece and nephew. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that you allow so much time to pass. And one of the things that breaks us up the most is that when we don't spend as much time with family and friends as we should, if those people suddenly pass away, we have more guilt and regret because we did not take advantages with the amount of time that we could have spent with them. We always tell ourselves, I wish I would have been there. I wish I would have came sooner. I wish we would have done more. I wish I would have. Instead of having that guilt after they're gone, take the time right now and get your ass over there and go spend some time with them. Call them up on the phone, FaceTime them, call them, send them a video chat. Send them a video if you're doing something ridiculous. Like really, do a little 30-second GIF and send it to them in a text message. You know, you guys got these weird ass TikTok dances. Do a video showing your family members how important they are. Send it to them on social media, since that's how y'all communicate with one another. But do something to show the people that's important to you that they're important to you. And if they can reciprocate by doing something, and it doesn't require spending money, because recording a video takes the electricity that it takes to power the phone or the computer or the webcam, to let them know that they're important. Tell them that they matter. I know a lot of y'all jump on this show and y'all watch the show and y'all listen for a good grip. But guess what? This is a live podcast. Even on this live podcast, you have gotten full permission from me to jump up here and click the mic, approve the camera, approve the microphone, jump up here live and tell the people that matter to you that you love them, you care for them, you appreciate them, you miss them, name names, give shout outs. I promise you, I turn it into a short and stream it. That way they'll catch that video at some point and they'll know that you gave them a shout out, and they'll give you a shout out. There is no reason why you can't show people how important they are to you. You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the things that I wonder why there's so much distance in this country when all we really got to do is just pick up a phone and call, text, email, video chat. And with WhatsApp being free, Skype being free, FaceTime being free, the Android has video calling that's also free. I don't know why you guys are not putting yourselves more closely to the people that you claim matter to you. Don't claim that you got a lot of people in your life that you care about, but you're not putting any effort in letting them know how much you care. And if you're in relationships where you're not showing your partner, your spouse, how much you care by showing up, time over money, then you're not going to show them value. Now, I'm not saying sacrifice making money so that you can go and show your family members that you love them. I'm saying that instead of you wasting money on showing family that you can afford to spend money on them, that you go spend time with them and show them that you love them in a physical, I'm here way, as opposed to here's $1,000 gift card to go buy yourself some stupid shit that you're not going to use later on. Does that make sense? I hope it does. And while I hope that meshes with y'all, I'm going to leave y'all with this because we're going to be live every night of the week, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 5 Pacific. So I'm going to see you guys tomorrow night with tomorrow night's relationship topic, because we don't just have relationship topics about boyfriends and girlfriends, husbands and wives, husbands and husbands, wives and wives, whatever. We're not just talking about those types of relationships. We're talking about social relationships, friendships, family relationships, engagements, in-law relationships, appropriate interactions with one another, child relationships between their father and their children. All of these relationships are important, and we need to be able to nurture them and manifest them in a positive way, so that we're able to really have a more fulfilling life. That's like the best way to put it. So with that being said, I'm your host, Xander, with this, that, and everything in between. And I thank you guys